They always told us to lean in. Raise your hand. Speak louder. Be seen. But no one tells you what to do when being seen gets you passed over. Or when your silence becomes the only language they bother to respect. So I made a different kind of noise. It all started in the most uninspiring way possible during a Zoom call. Picture me, Isabel Tran, camera off, because I was mid-eye roll, listening to yet another man I trained get appointed to a leadership position I applied for. We're thrilled to announce Jason as our new director of research. Jason, who once asked if UX stood for user extra? Jason, whose biggest contribution to our platform was suggesting we add emojis to a fintech dashboard. Jason, who said during a Q3 offsite, and I quote, "Honestly, Isabel, you have such good vibes." Like a UX therapist. Meanwhile, I had built the entire research framework the product team used, designed 3 high-performing onboarding flows, coached interns, and led a user study that doubled our mobile engagement rate. But they gave it to Jason. Again. At that moment, I didn't rage. I didn't send a furious email. I didn't cry. I did what I always do when someone mistakes my silence for passivity. I started taking notes. Literally. I opened a new Google Doc, titled it Project Rebirth, and began recording everything. Every slight. Every stolen idea. Every time I was told I wasn't quite director material. Every compliment that was just a little too condescending. You're the glue of this team, Isabel. You know what else is glue? Something people forget until shit falls apart. I began cataloging my quarterly performance reviews, all glowing, all with 0 promotion path. The emails where I presented solutions that later came out of male colleagues' mouths and were treated like revelations. The Slack messages, oh God, the Slack messages. Can you make this deck a little prettier before the exec review? You're so good with visuals. The more I collected, the more something inside me began to solidify. Not anger. Not even sadness. Resolve. And then fate handed me the match. During a routine 1:1 with HR, I mentioned I was feeling a little burnt out. Their eyes lit up like it was Christmas morning. Burnout? Why didn't I say so sooner? Spearpoint had a sabbatical policy. Paid. 6 months. Fully confidential. I played it cool. Nodded. Asked for more info. Then, very calmly, I told them I'd like to take it. Effective in 2 weeks. My manager was thrilled. You deserve it, Isabel. You work so hard, and this team would fall apart without you, he said, while absolutely not offering to advocate for a promotion. So I smiled, packed up my desk, cleared my calendar, and burned the whole damn forest down. Sabbatical day 1. Most people spend it at a yoga retreat, or passed out in bed, binge-watching something British with passive-aggressive plotlines. Not me. I woke up at 6 a.m., made an espresso strong enough to strip paint, and opened my laptop. I had work to do. Not Spearpoint work, God no. My job now was to build something that would outlive my LinkedIn title. Something with teeth. The blog idea came to me somewhere between the first sip of coffee and a particularly aggressive flashback of being called, so organized, in a strategy meeting. I needed to make a statement. But it couldn't be a rant. No one listens to angry women. They just say you're emotional or difficult. But they do read stories. Especially stories told like fables, with just enough detail to hit where it hurts. So, I created her. Cypher Sister. An anonymous author. A mirror version of me, stripped of politeness and HR compliance. Her voice was sharp, calm, and devastating. I published the first post on Medium under a clean black and white logo I designed in 15 minutes because, yes, in addition to saving their products from UX hell, I'm also excellent at brand design. Funny how no one asked me to lead a single rebrand. The first story was called The Meeting Where I Watched My Idea Get Stolen in Real Time. Spoiler, I didn't say it was my idea, but I described the room. The jargon, the fake cheer, the way the man who repeated my exact wireframe suggestion didn't even change the order of the bullet points. People recognized it instantly. I didn't name the company, but Spearpoint employees started sharing the post internally. I watched it spread in real time like an infection. That post got 20,000 views in 2 days. The second one hit harder: performance reviews and other works of fiction. I told the story of a woman who got glowing feedback and no promotion for 6 years, while being told she lacked leadership presence. The kind of story that leaves a reader screaming into their desk. Each post ended with a line: "Have a story? Send it to Cypher Sister." And oh, did they ever. Within a week, I had 112 emails. Some with receipts, some with tears, most with rage. But a few were from people at my company. One person attached a spreadsheet comparing the diversity stats in the company's public deck with the actual team compositions from internal HR data. Spoiler, the 25% women in leadership claim included 2 women on maternity leave and 1 who quit 6 months ago. I cross-checked everything, built a wall of timelines, color-coded by executive, department, and PR risk level. My apartment looked like a detective's office from a Netflix documentary. All I needed was a corkboard and some red yarn. I didn't just want to tell the truth. I wanted to weaponize it. And still, Spearpoint had no idea. I even got a care package from HR during week 2 of my sabbatical. It included a lavender-scented candle and a note that said, "Your well-being matters. See you in 6 months. Oh, honey, you'll see me long before then. Let me tell you about Darren." Or, as I referred to him in Cypher Sister's 3rd post, the Axeman. Darren was our senior VP of engineering, known for 3 things: a man bun that defied corporate dress code, but not ego. His favorite phrase: "We're not here to coddle feelings." Hosting team-building, axe-throwing parties where he only invited the men. Seriously, one time I asked about attending, and he laughed and said, "You really want to be around flying weapons and IPAs with this crew?" I did not, but I did want to be invited. So when a junior engineer anonymously sent me a message describing how Darren regularly undermined women in code reviews, calling their comments fluff and their suggestions overcorrections, I knew I had my next post. Code of Silence: When feedback isn't welcome, went live on a Thursday morning. By lunch, it had 15,000 views. And someone, I'll never know who, posted it in our internal Slack under the hashtag Diversity and Inclusion channel with the caption, "Anyone else find this familiar?" The post was surgical. It didn't name him. It described a man who said culture fit every time a woman wasn't promoted, who hosted invite-only happy hours that somehow excluded the only 2 Black engineers, who once told a senior female developer she had too much edge to mentor juniors. The details were just specific enough to be undeniable. He read it, apparently, during a weekly engineering sync. And according to someone in the room, he said, "Some chick's blog is going viral. Probably some bitter ex-employee." To which a brave soul replied, "What if she's not?" I wish I could have seen his face. The post was quoted by TechCrunch 2 days later in a piece called "The Rise of Whistleblower Blogs in Tech." There, nestled between coverage of layoffs and new AI products, was a paragraph about Cypher Sister, the mysterious blogger who was blowing open the doors on corporate misogyny with calm precision and terrifying insight. Guess who started sweating? By the next week, a leak came to me, an internal email from HR about a reputation containment strategy. In it, they used words like media fallout, narrative control, and my personal favorite, "We may need a scapegoat." Guess who was first on the chopping block? Darren. The Axeman got axed. Technically, it was an amicable parting based on diverging priorities, but we all knew. A week later, his LinkedIn said open to work. I wasn't done yet, because now I had momentum, and submissions, and rage in my inbox from people who never had the platform to fight back. And Spearpoint? Still smiling publicly, tweeting, "We believe in women in tech," while quietly interrogating the wrong employees in backdoor meetings. Meanwhile, I published post 4, How to Erase a Woman in 5 Easy Meetings. Spoiler, they'd already done it to me, but not for much longer. Sabbatical week 4. You know what happens when your blog goes viral, 3 VPs resign, and your company's stock starts to look like it's training for a limbo competition? You start getting emails from very rich people with very worried tones. Enter Spearpoint's investors. The first one came from a Gmail account that looked fake, but the subject line gave it away. Clarification requested regarding recent events. It was short. 5 sentences. Polite. But the subtext screamed, "Are you done yet? Because we're hemorrhaging money, and it's getting harder to pretend we're not watching." I didn't respond. Instead, I dug through my inbox. Because I remembered something. May 18th, 2023. An internal newsletter announcing our series defunding success. Champagne. A selfie from the CFO. And a list of strategic advisors and investors, including someone named Robert K., managing partner of a firm that definitely has yachts. Now, a quick aside about me. I may look like a demure little UXer in a Uniqlo sweater, but I spent one chaotic semester in undergrad shadowing a friend in corporate finance, long enough to learn what really motivates a boardroom. Numbers. And fear. Preferably both at once. So, I crafted a little gift. I gathered every post I'd written on Cypher Sister, every submission that had external proof, every anonymous email from someone inside Spearpoint confirming retaliation, gaslighting, or outright misconduct. I organized them into a deck, 42 slides, titled, "The Real Cost of a Culture Problem." Slide 1. A screenshot of Spearpoint's website, big bold mission statement. We build the future with integrity. Slide 2. A chart showing the drop in female retention over the last 3 years. Slide 3. Slack screenshots with names redacted, but job titles definitely not. Slide 5 onward. Full throttle. One story about a woman who trained her replacement during maternity leave. Another about a bisexual engineer told not to flaunt her lifestyle at a Pride recruiting event. A particularly damning one from someone who filed a harassment complaint and was restructured out of a job 2 months later. Each story was cross-referenced with public claims Spearpoint made on DI, employee-first culture, and inclusive leadership. Then came the piece de resistance. A spreadsheet comparing their investor pitch deck with actual outcomes. Projected talent acquisition cost? $5 million. Actual attrition costs due to poor culture? Based on current salaries, productivity loss, and replacement timelines, closer to $13 million. I signed the deck not with my name, but with a link. Just one sentence. You fund them. You should know what you're buying. Cypher Sister. Then I hit send. Not just to the investor who reached out, but to all the addresses listed on that funding announcement. Plus a few journalists I knew would be very curious. 2 days later, headlines started popping up. Spearpoint faces internal reckoning as viral blog exposes cultural failures. Anonymous whistleblower forces tech giant into crisis mode. Cypher Sister sparks investor panic at $2 billion startup. Guess who called an emergency board meeting? Guess who didn't know I had access to the agenda? Guess who finally took a real sabbatical in the Cayman Islands? That'd be the CEO. You ever watch a company try to do damage control while still pretending it's not their fault? It's like watching someone mop a flood with a paper towel, smiling the whole time. Spearpoint's official statement hit LinkedIn like a wet fart wrapped in buzzwords. We're proud of the culture we've built at Spearpoint and are committed to continuous learning. We take allegations seriously and are conducting an internal review. Blue Heart #leadership #growth mindset. Yes. Allegations. The corporate synonym for we got caught but haven't figured out who to blame yet. Now, remember, I'm on sabbatical. Which means, officially, I'm not watching. But unofficially? I'm eating popcorn and screenshotting every single corporate response like it's my job. Because right now, it is. They were trying to bury it with fluff, classic deflection. But I had something better than fluff. I had proof. One of my early blog readers, a former content strategist, laid off 2 years ago after going on stress leave, slid into my DMs like a queen returning to her castle. She had the internal comms drafts. The ones from PR. The early versions. The ones that didn't make it past legal. Oh, they were rich. One draft literally said, "Let's acknowledge the blog without legitimizing it. Use words like internet conversation or external discourse. Avoid the word truth." Another said, "Our brand voice is warm, neutral, and future-focused. Never defensive. Apologize vaguely, if at all." I couldn't have written satire better if I'd tried. So, what did I do? I published post number 6. How to Write the Perfect Non-Apology, a step-by-step guide from Spearpoint's own PR team. It was a masterclass. I opened with their final LinkedIn statement, then laid out the internal drafts, annotated, dissected, and absolutely obliterated. I highlighted the difference between what they were willing to say and what they were desperate to hide. Like the fact that none of their internal review team had ever investigated a harassment complaint before, or that their diversity task force hadn't met in 9 months. I even included a quote from one of their PR interns who reached out anonymously, bless their chaotic soul. "I'm just here to make social graphics, but even I know this is a dumpster fire. Please keep going." "Reader," I screamed. The post exploded. Shared 40,000 times. Featured on NPR. Picked up by Bloomberg. Suddenly, people outside of tech were paying attention. Middle managers at Fortune 500s were talking about Cypher Sister in leadership workshops. College professors were adding it to ethics syllabi. And Spearpoint? They tried to do one of those fireside chats with employees to re-establish trust. Someone live-streamed it. The VP of People cried mid-call. Another exec forgot their mic was on and muttered, "This is why we never hire disruptors." And someone in the chat just kept typing fire, 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 fire every time the CEO dodged a question. I didn't post for 3 days after that. Why? Because sometimes silence is louder. And because I was busy working on something else. A curated, chronological digital archive. Every blog post. Every story submitted. Every shred of evidence. Packaged in a clean, minimalist design. Password protected. Ready to go public if Spearpoint tried to sue or spin me as a liar. I called it the Cypher Archive. I knew it was coming. You don't humiliate a $2 billion tech company, torch 3 VPs, and publicly roast their HR team like marshmallows without someone deciding, we need to figure out who this bitch is. And oh, did they try? It started with whispers. A tip from an old coworker, legals asking IT to pull search logs. Then another, they think it's someone in product. Maybe one of the ex-designers. Cute. Cold, but cute. They assembled what one insider called the Shadow Committee. No, seriously. That was their actual internal name. I can't make this up. Their goal: unmask Cypher Sister. Here's the problem. They assumed Cypher Sister was sloppy, emotional, one bad cookie crumb trail away from being exposed. But I've spent 6 years at Spearpoint invisible by design. I knew exactly how to fade. When I created the blog, I used a new laptop. No linked accounts. Logged into Wi-Fi from a rotating list of cafes, co-working spaces, and once, gloriously, a high school parking lot during summer break. Sorry, West Valley High. Your signal's great. I used burner email addresses, encrypted docs, and a VPN stack that would make Snowden blush. But I wanted them looking. I needed it. Because curiosity creates panic. And panic makes mistakes. They reached out to former employees, quietly, of course, framing it as confidential research or a culture audit. But people talk. And Cypher Sister? She listens. I posted part 7. To the person trying to trace me, check the mirror. The piece was written directly to them. Calm, measured, terrifying. I described a fictional character, Tina, a faceless leader obsessed with control, spiraling into paranoia, digging through Slack archives while her reputation sank faster than the company stock. There was no Tina. But guess who read the post and immediately emailed legal to stop digging? The real Tina. That's when the emails started pouring in from other companies. Product managers, analysts, even an exec at a rival firm. All saying some version of, "We've been watching Spearpoint. You're not alone. Would you consider doing this for us?" Oh. So I said yes to a few. Quietly. Anonymously. Just a framework for telling internal stories. A checklist for documenting patterns. A template for survivor submissions. Suddenly, there were murmurs of a movement. One blog became 5. A hashtag appeared on Twitter, #CypherSistered. Someone made merch. A tote bag that read, "She's probably taking notes." Meanwhile, Spearpoint HR accidentally left a Slack channel open. An anonymous account posted a single sentence. What if it's Isabel? That message stayed up for 2 minutes, then deleted. But someone sent me a screenshot. I stared at it for a long time. Isabel. My name. They'd finally said it out loud. So I did something bold. I logged into my work account. Just once. I left a draft email in my own inbox. Titled, "Back Soon." Empty, except for the footer. Sent from my Audi. Hope HR is still paying attention. Then I logged out. 6 months flew by. You'd think revenge would be exhausting. Honestly, I've never slept better. My sabbatical officially ended on a Tuesday, 9 a.m. sharp. Which meant, legally speaking, I had to show up to work for exactly 1 day to qualify for my full retention bonus. $80,000. So I showed up. And let me tell you, I made an entrance. I wore a perfectly tailored, bone-white pantsuit. Sharp as a scalpel. Red lipstick. Gold earrings. Not corporate cute. Unapproachable. Like I'd just come from closing a deal in Geneva and was about to destroy someone's entire lineage with a single line of legalese. I stepped into the lobby of Spearpoint and felt it shift. A junior dev walking out of the elevator blinked like he'd seen a ghost. A woman from legal literally stumbled backward when she saw me. I tapped my badge. The turnstile clicked open. Still works, I thought. Poor IT. My desk was just as I left it because no one had dared to repurpose it. My office chair looked like a condemned throne. On the whiteboard behind me, someone had written, "The Queen shall return" in dry erase marker months ago. They never erased it. I checked my inbox. Thousands of unread emails. I searched, retention bonus confirmation. There it was. Approved. Processed. Paid out yesterday. Bless them. I stood up, smoothed my suit, and walked straight to HR. The new director of people, someone who'd replaced Tina, RIP to her reputation, was waiting for me. "Isabel," she said, trying for warmth and failing spectacularly. "Can we have a chat?" "Oh, I was just coming to see you." We sat in the glass conference room where I'd once been told I was a culture asset, not a strategic one. I took that seat again, this time crossing my legs like a Bond villain. She cleared her throat. I assume you've seen what's happened during your time away. I've been resting, I said, smiling. You know, for my well-being. She blanched. They knew. Of course they knew. But they couldn't prove it. And trying to force it would look very bad for a company still bleeding from every orifice in the press. She slid a piece of paper across the table. It was a mutual separation agreement. We understand if you're ready to move on, she said. We'd like to part ways amicably. I slid it right back. I'm not signing anything. I'm just here to hand this in. I reached into my structured leather tote, gift to myself, courtesy of Medium blog ad revenue, and pulled out a sealed envelope. Inside was my resignation letter. 1 page. Double-spaced. Short. Sweet. Lethal. Effective immediately, I resign from my role at Spearpoint Technologies. I leave behind a legacy of systems you still depend on, strategies you still use, and mistakes you'll keep making. I won't say good luck. You'll need more than that. I stood up. She opened her mouth to speak. I beat her to it. Oh, and you might want to check the news this afternoon. Why? I smiled. Because I gave an exclusive interview to Forbes. It goes live in 2 hours. Her face went pale. That interview? It didn't name me explicitly, but it linked to the Cypher archive. It quoted blog passages. It broke down the financial damage. It ended with a line that became its own headline. The most powerful woman in the building was the one they refused to promote. After my resignation letter hit Spearpoint's HR inbox like a truth grenade, everything started to move in slow, glorious motion. First came the media fallout. The Forbes article landed like a well-aimed meteor. My interviews stayed anonymous, but the quotes were unmistakably mine. I described the internal rot, the empty, people-first slogans, the culture of reward by obedience and punishment by excellence. I even shared a single stat: 17 qualified women left in under 2 years from just 2 departments. Not fired. Squeezed out. It wasn't personal, I told them. It was systemic. Then the story got picked up by CNN. Then Fast Company. Then a surprisingly savage write-up in Teen Vogue that called Spearpoint the blueprint for modern corporate gaslighting. I want that on a mug. The board released a statement calling the revelations deeply concerning. 4 board members stepped back to focus on other ventures. And by that I mean, fled. Spearpoint's internal Slack was a battlefield. Anonymous bots posted Cypher sister quotes in random threads. Engineers added a bat emoji to their names. People started documenting their own mini sabbaticals, aka quitting with receipts. But it wasn't just them anymore. I got emails from employees at other companies. Dozens. Then hundreds. Can we build our own Cypher archive? How did you stay anonymous? Can you help me tell my story? I thought I was crazy until I read yours. I was no longer just the match. I was holding the damn torch. So I built something bigger. Cypher Network. A digital safe house. Secure submissions. Publishing tools. Legal referrals. A platform for people to document, protect, and publish their truth without losing their jobs or their sanity. Contributors from 5 countries joined in the first month. We created training guides, digital workshops, a toolkit called HR Bingo that went viral for all the wrong reasons. Example square. We hear you. Without action. Another. Let's table this for now. I licensed the branding, started a non-profit wing, and partnered with whistleblower protections orgs. The whole thing was structured to be self-sustaining. I wasn't looking to run it forever. I was just the ignition. Meanwhile, back at Spearpoint, things weren't great. A recruiter friend told me their offers were getting rejected more often than not. One candidate literally replied, "I'd rather freelance from a cave." Another just linked the Cypher archive as their reason for declining. Their diversity numbers flatlined. Their latest product flopped. A leaked internal survey showed employee trust dropped by 68% in 6 months. Guess who's not speaking at TechCrunch Disrupt this year? Their CEO, who now does executive coaching under a rebranded consulting firm. No shade. Okay, some shade. I was supposed to disappear. They thought Cypher Sister would burn out. Instead, I went global. But I wasn't done. There was still one last message to send. Spearpoint turned 10 that year. 10 whole years of innovation, disruption, and quietly grinding down anyone who didn't fit their golden boy mold. So of course, they threw a party. A lavish, catered, painfully try-hard affair at an industrial chic venue downtown. You know the type: string lights, rented succulents, a growth mindset cocktail with too much gin. They branded it Spearpoint Decade. Hashtag and all. There was even a commemorative video, complete with slow pans of the office and cringy fake laughter from the CEO's old town hall clips. Now, I wasn't invited. Obviously. But I didn't need an invitation. I had a plan. You remember Darren? The axe-throwing VP who got fired early in the Cypher Sister saga? Well, turns out corporate disgrace makes a man oddly philosophical. We talked quietly, awkwardly. And let's just say, guilt can be useful when harvested properly. He gave me a copy of the guest list. He also let slip that Spearpoint was planning a tribute speech about overcoming adversity and that my name was going to be used. As an example of resilience, a token tale of how some employees come back stronger. I almost choked on my iced coffee. They were going to turn me into inspirational wallpaper. After spending years refusing to promote me. After all but daring me to disappear. They were going to sanitize me, brand me, quote me? No. Not unless I did it first. So I made a different kind of cameo. That night, as the lights dimmed and the projector rolled, every screen in the venue flickered once. Then again. Then frozen, black. Confused murmurs. A few nervous laughs. Then a white screen. A title appeared. Before you celebrate, remember what you erased. And then the montage began. Footage of my original blog posts. Glimpses of resignation letters from others. Quotes from real employee stories. I reported him. They promoted him. I worked 60-hour weeks for 3 years. They called me not aggressive enough. They told me to be grateful I was invited to the table. Overlaid with soft, clean music. No anger. Just wait. Then stats. 71% of women who left cited culture as the reason. 0 public apologies. 1 anonymous woman who wouldn't stay silent. The final screen held just one line. Cypher Sister was never alone. You just never looked. And it was over. 3 minutes. Silence. Then chaos. Someone had plugged a secure laptop into the main AV console. It disconnected immediately after playing. The IP was a burner. The device was wiped. You couldn't trace it. But you didn't need to. Everyone already knew who it was. They looked around that room, at the investors, the new hires, the HR team with white-knuckled wine glasses, and realized I'd become the ghost in their machine. I didn't crash the party. I rewrote it. And while they scrambled to pull together excuses, to find a scapegoat, to tighten AV security, I sat on a rooftop bar across town, sipping champagne, watching it trend on Twitter in real time. Hashtag before you celebrate. Hashtag Cypher Sister. Hashtag this is corporate. I never needed to raise my voice. I just needed them to hear their own silence for once. 1 year later, I live in a 5th-floor walk-up in El Born, Barcelona. The walls are stone, the neighbors are loud in the best way, and I have exactly 3 pairs of shoes that aren't sneakers. The air smells like coffee and sun. My hair's longer. My inbox is mercifully empty. I start each morning with espresso and emails from strangers. The Cypher network didn't just survive. It grew. What began as a blog turned into a platform, then a community, and now a whisper turned roar. There are now Cypher sister cells in 13 countries, 5 of which I've visited in the past year. We train people to document workplace abuse safely. We partner with labor attorneys. We host encrypted storytelling sessions. We arm the overlooked with tools to stay sane long enough to burn bridges strategically. And the best part? I'm not needed anymore. It runs without me now by design. I built something that didn't just punish a company. I exposed a blueprint. Then I passed the torch. People always ask if I'd go back to corporate. As if this whole thing was a detour. As if I didn't build more from scratch than I was ever allowed to inside those glass boxes. Here's the truth. I used to dream about being in the room. Now I design the rooms. I still hear about Spearpoint sometimes. Their new leadership posted a very public listening campaign. The CEO stepped down, citing a desire to spend more time building authentic ecosystems. He now sells NFTs to confused boomers. Their women in tech numbers have improved slightly, mostly because they've been audited within an inch of their lives. They offered me a consulting contract last fall. I sent back a fruit basket with a card that said, "You can't afford me." I don't keep photos of my old life. But I did frame something. My resignation letter. It hangs next to the Cypher Archive's first press feature. Below it is a screenshot of the retention bonus confirmation. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't their downfall. It's your ascent, built quietly, strategically, and in full control. I don't need to say, "I told you so." I don't need to gloat. I don't even need to look back. Because when you finally sit at the table you built with your own hands, you don't wait to be invited anymore. You name your own seat. And darling, it's the one with the best damn view in the house. The end. And the beginning for every woman who's ever been silenced, underestimated, or not quite director material.